In the grand story of medieval Europe, kings and queens are often remembered for their bloody battles, their legendary armies, and their ruthless quests for power. But behind the roar of cannons and the clash of swords, another kind of monarch quietly shaped history, the rulers who conquered not through war, but through wealth. While the warriors wrote their names in blood, these monarchs wrote theirs in gold. Their power didn't come from the battlefield, but from the treasury. They understood something their rivals did not, that gold, not steel, was the true weapon of kingship. During the Middle Ages, Europe was a continent divided by ambition. Empires rose and fell with each generation, yet the most enduring rulers were often those who mastered the art of economics, trade, and diplomacy rather than the art of war. These were the merchant monarchs, the banker kings, and the dynasties that ruled through silver and coin. The rise of the golden monarch. The story begins in the early medieval period, when the collapse of the Roman Empire had left Europe fractured. Power was scattered among warlords, knights, and feudal lords. But as the centuries passed, something began to shift. Trade routes reopened, ports bustled, and cities began to rise from the ruins. A new kind of ruler emerged, one who recognized that wealth was influence. Instead of conquering neighbors with swords, these monarchs bought loyalty, built alliances through marriage and trade, and used their fortunes to reshape entire kingdoms. Take, for instance, the Venetian doges, not kings in name but monarchs in power. The Republic of Venice, built upon trade rather than conquest, controlled the Mediterranean through commerce, not force. Their navy defended trade, but it was gold that ruled the seas. The doges made Venice one of the richest states in medieval Europe, its wealth rivaling the crowns of England and France combined. The royal bankers, kings of coin. In northern Europe, another example of wealth-based power flourished, the Medici family of Florence. Though not kings by blood, they ruled as surely as any crowned head. Through banking, finance, and strategic loans to monarchs across Europe, the Medicis became the invisible hand that guided politics. Popes, princes, and emperors owed them fortunes. And when a king owed you gold, he owed you power. The Medicis proved that wealth could buy influence far greater than an army ever could. Their dynasty produced popes, queens, and even controlled the cultural rebirth we now call the Renaissance. The merchant monarchs of the East. In the Byzantine Empire, rulers like Basil VII used wealth as a weapon even more effectively than swords. Basil's vast treasury allowed him to outlast rebellions, bribe enemies, and buy alliances that ensured the empire's survival long after its military might had faded. He didn't need to fight every battle. His gold fought for him. Similarly, in the Islamic Golden Age, the caliphs of Baghdad and the sultans of Mali proved that prosperity could secure power as firmly as armies. The legendary Mansa Musa, often called the richest man in history, ruled the Mali Empire not with fear, but with generosity. His gold pilgrimage to Mecca in the 14th century was so lavish that it changed the economy of nations. His wealth earned him respect across Africa, Arabia, and Europe. No army could have achieved such dominance without bloodshed. Peace as a weapon. What united these rulers was a single belief. Peace itself was profitable. Wars drained kingdoms, but trade enriched them. While their rivals exhausted their treasuries on endless conflicts, the wealthy monarchs expanded their influence quietly through art, architecture, commerce, and faith. Their cities became symbols of power. Florence, Venice, Constantinople, and Timbuktu stood as golden monuments to the might of money. Cathedrals rose not from conquest, but from commerce. Palaces glittered not from plunder, but from profit. These rulers understood that gold was the great equalizer. It crossed borders, commanded loyalty, and built legacies that lasted longer than any battlefield victory. The hidden empire of the wealthy. By the late Middle Ages, Europe's map was no longer just divided by armies. It was divided by banks, trade routes, and gold reserves. The most powerful monarchs were not always the loudest, but the richest. Behind every famous general or warlord stood a financier, a merchant or a monarch who quietly paid for their ambitions. This was the age where coin replaced conquest, where the pen signed treaties worth more than victories, and where the real rulers of the medieval world were those who controlled wealth itself. Have you ever wondered how medieval kings built their empires? We often picture epic battles and clashing swords, but what if I told you some of the most powerful conquests were won not on the battlefield, but in the bank? In medieval Europe, the ultimate power wasn't just a strong army. It was controlling the one thing that united everyone: faith. As Europe emerged from the Dark Ages, trade routes reopened and wealth started flowing back into the kingdoms. This new prosperity created a fascinating power dynamic. The church was the heart and soul of medieval life. It wasn't just a place of worship. It was the ultimate spiritual authority, shaping everything from laws and culture to the daily lives of peasants and nobles alike. For the ambitious monarchs of the era, this presented a golden opportunity. They realized that in a world where every soul sought salvation, controlling the church meant controlling the people. But it was more than just spiritual influence. The church was incredibly wealthy, collecting tithes, donations, and vast tracts of land. Kings began to see religion as the ultimate business. Why spill blood in costly wars when you could secure loyalty and fill your treasury by other means? By appointing their own loyal bishops and abbots, monarchs could divert church income into their own coffers. They could levy taxes for crusades that sometimes did more to enrich the crown than to reclaim the Holy Land. They used religious authority to justify their rule, declaring themselves chosen by God, which made any rebellion not just treason, but a sin. This fusion of faith and finance was a game-changer. It allowed rulers to build vast networks of influence, fund their ambitions, and consolidate power in ways a sword never could. They were conquering hearts, minds, and wallets all at once. It was a masterclass in soft power, proving that sometimes the cross and the coin are mightier than the sword. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories you didn't learn in school. See you next time.